Now to my remarks. And tonight, I hope I leave you remembering two things. The first is Steve Martin. And the second I want you to remember tonight is the V formation. But before I explain these two things, I want to develop some context. According to a recent McKinsey report, a glass of wine, the solid majority of insurance policyholders remain loyal, and at a surprising rate of 70%. They seem to be unresponsive to marketing messages solely based around price. Of these 18% are really passive customers. I'm talking about auto insurance for the most part. These are going to be highly targeted in the future to make the switch. And consumers are increasingly using multiple channels along the way in making their decisions, including conducting research online. Actually, about 60% of the policyholders who purchase from agents like us gather quotes through direct channels. What is the impact of this to the national and regional carriers? It complicates their marketing strategies because they can no longer segment customers based primarily on channel distribution, distribution preference, I should say. Carriers are going to look more closely at their expense. And I dare say that includes our commissions. So, what can we do about all this? And this is where I want to recall Steve Martin. Steve Martin, years ago, related the story during an interview. And aspiring comedians came to him and asked him, what did he do to get to the very top of his profession? And Steve told them this: be so good at what you do that they can't ignore you. Be so good at what you do that nobody can ignore you. I believe all of us should take Steve's advice and apply it to ourselves and our staff. Let us be so good at what we do, at our craft, that the buying public will look to us as the source of insurance protection. I'm calling us to all personally commit to being the best at what we do. And that means taking full advantage of PIA's Connecticut strengths, which offers a plethora of insurance education offerings for everyone in our agencies. If you simply need to learn or to earn continuing education credits, PIA has the quality courses. Things like the spring event and spring fling event and the CICs, the CPIA, the CISRs, all of those are available to us through PIA, including webinars. But I submit that there's more to education than just credits to keep your license. PIA provides nationally recognized programs. And by taking part of this education, you demonstrate to your clients and to the carriers, many of whom are with us, that they're going to work with knowledgeable agents who care and who keep them current in everything that we do. An agent who is so good that he or she cannot be ignored. The second thing I want to discuss is the V formation of the migratory geese in flight. You're probably thinking, what the heck is he talking about? So why do geese fly in a V formation? Anybody guess? Well, I've learned this because it's hard to fly on an S formation. No, I'm just kidding. Here are the scientific facts. A flock of geese flying in formation can move faster and maintain flight longer than any goose flying alone. By flying in the V formation, the whole flock adds at least 71% greater flying range than if each bird flew on its own. Whenever a goose falls out of formation, it suddenly feels the drag and the resistance of trying to go it alone, and quickly gets back into formation to take advantage of the lifting power of the bird immediately in front of it. And when the lead goose gets tired, like Tim Russell, he rotates back in the wing, and another goose takes his point. That would be me. These geese, they honk from behind to encourage those up front to keep up their speed and their stamina. And finally, this is the most interesting part. When a goose gets sick and is deformation, or is wounded by a gunshot and falls out of the formation, one or two geese will actually fly down with the injured bird and stay with it until it either dies or recovers. And then what they do is they join the next formation and catch up to their other group. Amazing. So, how does this all relate to PIA? Why be a member of PIA? Why serve on committees? Kay, Mary Kay, and Marissa and everybody else. Why serve on the board? For that matter, why be the president? Mary Cristiano Apple said to me that the V formation stands for volunteer. I agree with that. Thank you, Mary. But I guess that means the S that I was referring to means, or stands for solo, or selfish, or stand alone. Because like the V formation of migrating birds, we can go further together and accomplish more for our clients, our staff, and our agencies together as an association rather than on our own. We can use the lifting power of our fellow agents. Look around you tonight. It's awesome to be here. We can take turns taking the point, as I've already said. I don't know about the honking part, but let's get involved and get other agents who benefit from the efforts of a few also involved. Don't go it alone is my point. So now let me bring you back to the statistics I raised at the beginning of the speech. What I didn't share was at the beginning was the name of the McKinsey report. Beyond Price, the rise of customer-centric marketing in insurance. Past decade, U.S. auto insurers increased their marketing expenditure 15% each year. In 2011, they spent something like $6 billion on marketing alone. But the industry premium stayed stagnant. And more than half of those who spent those marketing dollars in the last 10 years, they did not gain any market share. The marketing dollars in auto insurance were spent targeting disproportionately 30% of the auto insurance buyers who are most price sensitive, the least loyal, and serial switchers. It begs the question, are these the customers we really want? The ones who shop on us on renewal. And have you noticed lately the change in direct writers advertising? They stopped talking about price. Pay attention to the next commercial you see with Gecko and Flo and Mr. Mayhem. They're not talking about price. They're changing their strategy. This data demonstrates an advantage that we as independent agents provide our national and regional carriers as their distribution channel. That's who we are, their sales force. We have a pulse on our customers, and we can identify the best segments with which to work with based on their needs and buying behavior. We need to move away from selling price to becoming, and I quote, personal insurance advisors, PIA. We are in the best position to manage the 70% silent majority. We need to focus on new business, retention, profitability, gain operational efficiency, get digital, engage customers with our independent agency brand and our value proposition. To be sure, independent agents still control the majority of the entire property and casualty, writing 57% of all premiums, including a third of personal lines. If we do what asked, we can ensure a prosperous future for our own businesses and for our own industry. So remember two things tonight. Steve Martin is so good at what you do that no one can ignore you. And number two, the V formation. We could do so much more together than on our own. Thank you for listening to my babbling.